following podcast contains spoilers and rude words. We watched a thing. We watched a thing. Hello everybody and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. This week I had a brand new Netflix release and I knew that I had to go straight to the expert, so I'm lucky enough to have joining me Dan from Netflix and Swill. How you doing, mate?
Good, Billy. Thank you for having me on the show.
No worries, mate. What have you been up to?
Oh, watching Netflix stuff, hoping I don't die, hoping I don't want to die after I watch them. The usual. Yeah,
I can imagine that. You watch just about everything that hits Netflix, don't you?
It used to be that way, and now it's like, oh my god, if I watch another bad thing, I'm going to lose my mind. So we try to parse it out, kind of watch the stuff we want to watch, and then hit the hits when we have to, like this week.
Yeah, so this week, and hopefully you might be able to shed some light for me on how this happened. This week we're talking about Red Notice, which is a 2021 American action comedy film written and directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. It stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. And I'm going to hit you with this, Dan. What is it about?
It's a very simple movie. It's about a world-famous art thief who is Ryan Reynolds. He's a thief. He runs around stealing artifacts and that kind of stuff. He's chased by FBI agent Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson because he's a bad guy. And then they try to capture a third bad guy who's played by Gal Gadot because reasons?
Yeah, that sums it up. Let me ask you something, because you obviously know a lot more about Netflix than I do. I actually don't see that many Netflix films. I know that the budget for this was $200 million. Now, Netflix in recent years have been throwing money around everywhere. I read an article today that Cavill is going to be getting $1 million per episode for The Witcher.
I mean, that makes sense.
I guess. He's Henry Cavill, but... so is it common these days for Netflix to do films with a budget that high?
Well, we had Six Underground, which was the other Ryan Reynolds Netflix movie. So you're seeing a trend here, which is that Ryan Reynolds is the secret to the... I think that one was about $150 million.
Yeah, right.
They've had some big budget ones. This one was an acquisition from, I want to say, Universal. So I think that part of the $200 million was the acquisition cost, because Universal was like, $200 million for these guys? I don't know. We'll just make the money back in theaters. And Netflix was like, we don't care. We'll just take it. And then, as long as, 70 million people watch it, we're all good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And honestly, 70 million people are going to watch this film would be my guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So even though it's a Netflix release, I was lucky enough to see this at the cinemas. Our local Dendy cinemas were showing this film and threw us some free tickets. Thank you so much, Lucy. Did you get to this one at the cinemas, or did you see this on your little silver screen?
No, I actually got to see this in theaters. I paid real actual money to go watch Red Notice in theaters a week early so I could come up with some thoughts before everybody else. But before everybody else, I mean... before most people who didn't go see this in theaters.
Yeah. Well, it had a really small cinema release, like 750 screens or something.
Yeah. And it took home around $1 million, which is that's not terrible for a 1 week release, especially considering the fact that everyone's going to be able to watch it the following week on Netflix for their subscription price that they normally pay, and will go watch something else immediately after it. So I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, Netflix failing at the box office again. And it's like, that's not their business model.
Yeah.
If it was, they would have put this out 30 days beforehand or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. The cinema release really would have just been icing on top, because as you say, so many people have a Netflix account. It's hard to comprehend why the average moviegoer would go and pay to see this in cinemas.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's get straight into it then. The movie's been pretty widely panned, or at least seen as mediocre. I don't know if it is just because I saw this on the big screen. I have a feeling that if I'd watched this at home, my thoughts would be different. But I actually had quite a bit of fun with this movie.
I had some fun too. I will say, and I've maintained this since I watched Skyscraper back in, I want to say 2017, 2018. I can't remember exactly when it was, but boy, The Rock has fallen off a cliff in terms of what he's able to do anymore acting wise. Like he just plays one character and I'm just so over it. Ryan Reynolds does the same thing. He's just playing Deadpool at this point.
Yes.
And that works to a degree, but like The Rock, I'm just so sick of seeing this from him, where he just is so bland and so uninspiring and just drags the movie with him. Anytime he's on the screen by himself and there's no Ryan Reynolds on the screen, I'm just so taken out of it.
Yeah, to me, The Rock is at his best when he's being completely over the top. You know, like my favorite Rock moment ever is in that ridiculous Fast and Furious movie where he flexes and pops his cast off his arm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, unless The Rock is doing something outrageous like that, I just don't care. Because, yeah, you're 100% right. And I agree, Ryan Reynolds does the exact same thing. And I actually think he always has. Even, like, I don't think Deadpool really was that much of a stretch for him. I think the amount you're going to enjoy this movie really, to me, depends on how much you buy into those two and whether you like them, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, and you're right. I say Deadpool, but, like, that's probably his most popular role. But, like, you watch something like Waiting or Van Wilder, he's been doing the same thing his entire career. I mean, good for him. You know, he's gotten to where he is because of it. But, I mean, at some point, that shine wears off. It hasn't worn off yet because it's, for me, still funny.
Yes.
As opposed to The Rock, who is not funny. And I've seen WWE when he was doing his thing. He's hilarious. Like, if he would just do stuff like that, I would be much more receptive to him.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, the majority of people, though, love both The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. I mean, The Rock is in just about fucking everything these days. You could go to the cinema and throw a stone and chances are you'll hit a poster with The Rock on it. I mean, honestly, at this point, who's going to win a popularity contest out of these two, do you think? Like, if it was The Rock v. Reynolds, I don't know, man. Like, it is a pretty big cast to be grabbed in this film, I think.
I'm still going to go with Ryan Reynolds because I'm seeing it amongst like my friend group who are like more casual moviegoers. They'll watch stuff, and one of my friends just said, like, actually two of my friends just said, we're like, is The Rock always this bad? And one of them was just like, boy, I am so tired of The Rock.
Yeah.
So like, I think The Rock is starting to wear on people with what he's doing in movies. So I'm going to go with Ryan Reynolds because I think comes across just more likable.
Yeah, okay. I think part of that, too, is that he seems more like a real person. Like, The Rock is so outrageous. Like, he almost doesn't look human. He's so large. Whereas Ryan Reynolds, like, yes, he's a very pretty man, but he still looks like a real person, I guess. It's easier to relate to him.
Right.
So, did you know anything about this movie going into it? I hadn't seen a trailer or anything. I knew nothing about what the plot was. I only knew the cast.
So, on our show, we have this segment called Downstream where we talk about trailers. And I watched the trailer for this and I'm like, oh no. Because that trailer was horrendous. I thought that trailer was horribly, horribly bad. And it appropriately set my expectations to like next to zero. Yeah. Even though I'm ready to like, I think I shelled out like $50 in total because I bought the tickets, I bought dinner, I did all that stuff just to go see the movie. Even though I did all that, I was like, I have no expectations for this movie. I think I'm just hoping for stock standard action movie. I am so happy to just, go out and hang out with my girlfriend in a movie theater.
Yeah. I mean, that was my thing too. And maybe that reflected on my score a little bit. We've been locked down here for a couple of months. So it was so nice just to get back to the cinemas. It was the first day that both my kids were back at school. So we didn't have to stress about babysitters or anything. Just go to the movies, go to lunch. And yeah, I ended up having a really good time, like I said. Like, almost immediately, I started having fun with this movie. I think that it's got a lot of flaws, but but I do think it's pretty easy to just enjoy this movie. And I don't think that this is I actually don't think the acquisition by Netflix was a smart move. I think this may have done better as a theatrical release, to be honest. I mean, maybe not in these COVID times, but I don't think this is a movie for streaming, really. I can't imagine sitting down at home and having fun watching this. I just think I would be scrolling on my phone, to be honest.
That's probably true. I mean, there's still that social contract you have of like, hey, don't be the asshole on your phone in the movie theater.
Yes.
Which probably helps my enjoyment of it too. But I don't know. I walked out of the movie theater being like, I don't know. I feel like if I just sat at home and watched it on my TV, I would have been happier.
Really?
Or like as happy. Because like I don't feel like there was anything that I was really missing from the movie. I would have been missing from the movie. Now, if I had seen this in like IMAX, like if this had been IMAX enabled, I would have been like, okay, this I need to see in IMAX. But you know, this was a regular movie theater. It was like an offshoot, like it was Theater 13 or something like that shit.
Yeah.
Where, you know, not one of their premium theaters. It's just like off there to the side because no one's going to go.
Yeah.
And incidentally, I had like 25 people in a theater of 100, like a capacity of 108.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It just never connected with me to be like, oh my God, I really am glad I watched this in the movie theater because of what I'm seeing on screen. It was more like, oh my God, I'm just so thankful to be out of my house.
Yeah, yeah. That's totally fair. And I completely understand what you're saying. One thing that I really didn't like about the film, to get straight into it, I don't know about you, I hated the direction of the action sequences, which,
yes,
you're right, generally action sequences are what you go and see something on a big screen for. I found myself just honestly feeling sick. The camera is constantly whizzing, constantly moving. I really hate fake camera moves. When you see a camera move and you're like, well, that's not a reality. I just hate it. And the action sequences, the camera never stops moving. I actually timed it out. The camera doesn't go to a locked off shot for the first 8 minutes of this film.
Oh, wow.
And that's just too much. It's just too much movement for me. I really, really hated it. And to give the film credit, I didn't hate the editing, which is often a problem during action films where you have trouble following things. But I did find that in some of the later sequences, the big underground car chase scene where everything's quite dark to begin with, I did find myself struggling a little bit to follow the action there. So I really, really hated the action scenes in this film.
Yeah, and I have to agree, and I've said it before on my show, I think John Wick has royally spoiled us all for everything action movie. We want, no cuts. We want our actors to be able to do the fight scenes themselves. And, when you don't get that anymore, you get stuff like this, where it's like, oh, well, we can tell you did a little bit of this, but like it's like you're not climbing up this set of scaffolding here in the museum. That's not you. Yeah. I guess our third player is Gal Gadot. I guess technically, even though like there's 2 secondary main characters.
Yep.
What did you think of her? That's the real question, because she's the real wild card coming into this. Honestly. Yeah,
she is. Her screen time is so limited, and her character is so limited. And that is honestly a bit of a problem throughout. And I get that by the end of the film there are supposed to be several twists and turns. So even the characters you kind of, in quotations, get to know, by the end of the film you realize you didn't. And it actually makes the writing feel even more shallow, because you actually don't really get a sense of depth for any of these people. Except for arguably maybe Ryan Reynolds, but even then, there's not a lot there. I enjoyed Gal Gadot. Again, like the other two, I think it's kind of hard not to enjoy her just because she seems so likable as a person. I like what she's doing. I just don't think she really has a lot to do. Did you feel the same way?
I liked her because she was over the top. I felt like she really knew what movie she was in and then just chewed up scenery from there, because I've seen her in Fast and Furious, Wonder Woman, like those aren't like meaty roles. Now, of course, I haven't seen Wonder Woman 84, even though my girlfriend's seen it twice. I've somehow dodged it both times. Go me. But, in this, she's hamming it up. She's over the top. Like, she understands that she's in a fun movie, and she's acting against, Wooden Rock and Ryan Reynolds doing his shtick. So, like, I wouldn't say she's matching Ryan Reynolds in terms of that, but, like, she's up there in terms of what she's doing.
That's fair. And it is fun to see her take on that kind of, arguably for the majority of the film, she's the villain. At least that's how we see her. And you're right, she does ham it up and play it almost as that Bond level, crazy genius. And yeah, she is very fun, yeah.
So, I mean, like, for me, like, this is the breakout party for Gal Gadot. I know the Wonder Woman thing, like, that was really it. But, like, this showed, like, she doesn't have to be 100% serious or 100, like, the hero all the time. She can do, like, this fun, over-the-top role that, you can find more relatable than just, I'm Diana, Princess of Themyscira. I walk across battlefields and no one can hit me with bullets because I'm too strong.
Yeah.
Plot-wise, what did you think overall? Because, like, it's very bare bones. It just kind of has set piece after set piece after set piece, and then, some things interspersed without.
Yeah. The first thought that went through my head when I left the cinema was, well, that movie was complete bullshit, but it was fun. And that's just kind of how I think about it. The plot is, as you say, it's very, very bare bones. But at the same time, like, we start with almost like a newsreel showing us the history of, Cleopatra's jewelry and stuff. And I'm like, this is almost too in-depth for what this movie is.
Right.
Like, it was just kind of a strange experience that's how the film opens. I had enough fun. I think by the end, there's maybe, like, just a twist too many. And the way the film ends, kind of setting up for a sequel, I was a little bit like, guys, this film is never getting a sequel. Like, I always find that a strange thing when a film like this that, I don't know, like, do people, like, and I guess they must, but when they write and direct these films, do they actually think that these are good movies? Like, I never understand people setting up for a sequel when it seems clear to me that this film isn't going to perform to that level. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a strange move.
The thing is that Netflix has been trying to get into the franchise game. So, like, you see the ending of Extraction, for instance, where you have, like, the guy who could be Tyler Rake, but we don't know because it's definitely not Chris Hemsworth on set.
Yeah.
So, like, it felt like one of those endings where it was like, oh my God, we have to set up for a sequel because maybe Netflix will give us a sequel. Maybe we'll get enough hits. Maybe this will be the biggest thing Netflix has ever seen outside of Squid Game, because there's no way all those people are watching this thing.
Yeah.
But, if we can get like 80, 90 million views on this or whatever the new viewing stat is, maybe we'll get a sequel and we can set up for it. Like, it has the Ryan Reynolds factor. It has the Rock factor going for it. So
that's true.
Maybe. But I say that the Ryan Reynolds factor was not enough to save Six Underground, because that was supposed to get a sequel and then never did.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize they were trying to get into the franchise game. I mean, I guess that makes sense because, then you've got an existing property that you can just start.
Well, they just want, like, that's the thing now is, like, they got you, but they want to keep you. But they also want to get more people. So if you can show that you have established properties that you are branching off into universes, then cool. That's why they tried that hackneyed Stranger Things backdoor pilot in season 2 for, like, a spin-off of all the other numbers.
That was terrible.
That everyone hated. Everyone hated it. And they were like, okay, never mind. Let's try something more organic. Like, they've been forcing the Bright universe. They just put out a Bright animated movie, anime movie, or whatever they want to call it. They had Jupiter's Legacy earlier this year, which flopped horrendously to the point where they're like, oh, well, this Super Crooks anime we're working on, now we have to change it from, being a part of the universe into, we're, like, soft rebooting into an anthology format. So, like, they're still trying to find that footing. It's just not hitting yet. And they're hoping that this will hit, like, Extraction, like Old Guard. Those are the two big sequels that I know of for action movies they have. Like, they had All the Boys, they had the Kissing Booth franchise. Like, they've had, like, these middle tier franchises that are for, like, the teen kids. Yeah. I guess that's who those are for. But they've never had anything that has more, like, general appeal going into multiple movies until Extraction and Old Guard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, probably like back in the days where they had the Marvel series going, and they had, Daredevil and Jessica Jones and were kind of tying those together.
Yeah, that would be the other case of it, where they tried to bring it into Defenders. Now, of course, that was not good.
Yeah.
But, they tried something in order to be like, hey, we don't have the access to, like, Tony Stark and all your other favorite Avengers, but, we got these guys.
Yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts on the plot of the film and, just the screenplay in general?
The screenplay's terrible because, of course, it is. The actual plot is just like, okay, we're here. Okay, oh, you guys got arrested together because you have to be, because we got to stick you together somehow.
Yep.
Okay, now we're at the prison. Oh, we're gonna have heart-to-hearts about our tragic backstories.
Yeah,
and now we're gonna go fight Gal Gadot after she taunts us in the prison. It's like, okay. It's just paint by numbers. Like, it's a paint by numbers action movie with like a little bit of spice thrown in with the heist aspect of it that happens during the second act, which I thought was okay. It was fun, but I mean, it's a whatever kind of plot that is not helped by the fact that, you have The Rock saying a lot of these very bad lines.
Yeah. I do always find it hard to tell with both The Rock and Ryan Reynolds how much of it is even scripted. Like with Ryan Reynolds, it's extremely hard to tell because he is always playing himself and that Deadpool character to such an extent where every line he says in every movie sounds the same. Like, I feel like I could cut together 10 Ryan Reynolds lines from 10 different films, and it would be a nightmare for someone to try and guess what film each line is from. So
right.
I don't know whether he is improvising on set or whether people are really just trying to write in his voice or what the go is. And I find the same thing with The Rock. It's so bland all the time that I don't know whether people are writing for him or whether he's just changing what he says on set or whether it's just his delivery is so bad that everything sounds the same.
I have to imagine it's that he's getting, like, for The Rock specifically, that he's just getting bad lines.
Yeah.
And he's just saying these bad lines. Because, like I said, I've seen him be funny, charismatic. Like, there was a reason everyone was like, oh my God, The Rock is going to go into Hollywood. He is so charismatic, and so entertaining. Like, and then you get to now, and he's just so one note, one dimensional that it's frustrating. Like, at least Ryan Reynolds, when he's doing his thing, like, he can be tough sometimes, he can be serious sometimes, but mostly he's comedy, but he can splash in those little bits that it's like, okay, I can enjoy him a bit more than The Rock, who's just like, we got to be real good. We got to be on the straight and narrow. I'm a real good guy. I'm a very good guy. I'm here to stop you, bad man.
Yeah.
So, I guess we can talk about it. What did you think of the twist ending?
I did not love it. Did you see it coming? I mean, in hindsight, I feel like I should have, because as you say, everything is so, like, it just doesn't make sense otherwise, that they're put in the same prison cell and then Gal Gadot is there. And like, there were so many strange things that happened just really to lead up to this one point. And it just seemed silly. Like, for starters, I mean, like I said, The Rock doesn't look like a real human. Even just that visual of him kissing Gal Gadot is like, oh my God, this is fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you make of it?
I will say I didn't see it coming. I was actually sort of engrossed in the movie, I guess, enough to where it was like, oh, this is surprising. But I knew it was coming to the end, and I'm like, I know something fucky has to happen.
Yeah.
Because we have that one promo shot of the three of them standing next to each other, looking at something. What are they doing? How do we get to that shot?
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, it was like, okay, I knew something was happening. It's like, oh, he's with her, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. It's like, okay. Like, I'm like, oh, that's surprising. And then they do the flashbacks and like, I am the bad guy. And it's like, wait, really?
The flashbacks were
really?
so
We were
bad.
supposed to key off that?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. When they did those flashbacks, and I was like, nah, mate. No, that's not foreshadowing.
No. Like, oh yeah, I'm the bad guy. Okay, sure. Like, that just seemed like The Rock trying to say something funny and it not landing, but he's like, oh no, I'm totally dead serious. I am the bad guy.
Yeah.
I've just been completely boring the whole time.
Yes, yeah. And they flash back to them, dancing at the rich guy's party, and like, it just, none of it was foreshadowing.
No.
I thought the twist was going to be that the Interpol agent was somehow in on it because she was just cooked at her job. She couldn't do anything right. Like, she was so bad at catching them that I was so sure she was in on it.
Right. But, like, her was like, okay, you're a character, I guess. Like, I'm sorry you don't have more screen time, but, like, you're up against these three people.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Zero depth.
And then, you know, they get the stones. Ryan Reynolds is like, oh, hey, here's where the wedding's going to be, where you can get all the stones. And they're like, okay, cool. And then Ryan Reynolds is just on their boat at the end of the movie. And I'm like, okay, how are you going to swing this? Because you ruined their payday.
Yeah.
And now you're like, hey, let's go steal something together because we're all red noticed. Title drop. We're here at the end of the movie. We're all red noticed. Hooray.
I know. And somehow they agree to it. And it is so, and I hate when movies title drop like that. And it's such a shame because I actually spent the first little bit thinking it was quite clever that the only title drop in the film had just been, I mean, I guess it's kind of bad exposition, but I liked that it just kind of came up showing you the definition of what it meant.
Right.
And that's the only time it had appeared in the movie until the very end. And it's like, oh, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow they agree to go and join him, even though, as you say, he ruined everything.
Yeah. And they ruined, like, he got caught because of them. Now, of course, he gets out, and so I guess in his mind, he's like, no hard feelings, I got out, it's no problem. But it's also like, bro, what are you talking about? Just, what? The way they have them come together is so befuddling.
Yeah.
Like, it would have just made more sense if they had the reveal of The Rock being with Gal Gadot, and then the Interpol agent shows up, and then they're like, okay, you're all caught. Now we all get together, we all escape, and we're like, all right, we're going to do another heist because we're all like the best. Like that would have felt much better.
I agree. Like,
and way less like schlocky than it is.
Yeah, I agree. If they had all gotten arrested or something and then had to work together to get out of it, yeah, that would have made sense to me. Because the way the film ends prior to him being on the boat too, Ryan Reynolds seems genuinely hurt. Like, he seemed to have really thought that he made a connection with our man Dwayne, and he seems genuinely hurt. But then, nah, all's good. Let's go on a heist.
Yeah.
Befuddling.
Hey, you want to get your money back? Let's go rob the Louvre, I guess.
Yeah. What did you think of the look and the visuals of the film? I already spoke about how I thought the action sequences were kind of poorly done. Did you like the look of the film overall?
I can tell you the CGI is dreadful.
Yes.
For a $200 million movie, it is impressive how bad the CGI is.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing. So I suspect you're right that a lot of that budget was in acquisition, not actually in filmmaking, because, yeah, it doesn't look good at all.
Right, because Caleb made a joke, who's my co-host. He made a joke. He's like, $90 million for The Rock, $90 million for Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, $3 for Gal Gadot. And then, the rest went to, permits and CGI. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Probably not far off.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. A lot of people were making something out of this Rock post that he had on Instagram where he was promoting, Red Notice. He's like, time to raise the streaming bar. And a lot of people were like, look, even The Rock realizes that streaming needs to, improve itself for action movies. And it's like, so is this it? Was this what The Rock was talking about? Like, I get you have to promote the movie, but like, this ain't it, bud.
No. And the thing is, I'm sure he knows that. He himself has been in better action movies. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sure he knows that this is not it.
I mean, I think even The Scorpion King is better than this movie.
Oh man, yeah, I rewatched that recently, and talk about CGI not holding up.
Oh well, yeah,
yeah,
but like, at least that's turn of the century.
Oh yeah,
we're 20 years later, and it's like, oh, the CGI doesn't even look good now.
Yeah,
like I can't even imagine what it's going to look like in 5-10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think honestly, streaming have had some pretty good releases. I mean, Annihilation, miles better than this film. Even Bird Box, I didn't hate.
No, I thought Bird Box was fine. I will say Annihilation, though, released in theaters here in America, streaming, everywhere else except for like a couple other regions.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because here it was streaming only. We didn't get any cinema release for that, which is such a shame.
Yeah. It was one of those things where it's like, but why? Like, why? What was the reason? Like, it's Alex Garland. He just did Ex Machina. Like, did you really think that this was going to flop that much?
Yeah.
Like, overseas and everywhere. Like, why? Like, if you're going to put it on streaming anywhere, put it on streaming in the US. Like, because US audiences didn't go see it.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah. The CGI bull was especially bad. It was like, oh, what are we doing here? What are we doing in this Roman Colosseum? Also, I need to talk about one final character.
Yep.
The beard dude, fucking Gandalf. He sounds like Eddie Redmayne in Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm here to talk to you today about this Cleopatra stone. Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing? Who cast this guy? What does he think he's in?
I know. All I heard was Dumbledore. It was so bad. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't he the dude who like was in Silicon Valley for a bit? Is like, yeah, it is. It's the dude who was in Silicon Valley for a bit. He usually is like kind of a bit of a smug asshole. I guess a little bit like this character. I don't know what he was going for with that voice though. I don't know why he just wouldn't use his regular voice. If that's a decision he made or whether he was directed to do it, it's a terrible decision because I'm with you. That was so distracting and just such a weird choice to make.
Yeah. Like no one talks like that.
No.
Like, especially not an international arms dealer.
Yes.
Like I can't imagine any man taking that guy seriously, being like, hello, I'm here to buy your weapons. And someone's like, the fuck is it? Do you need a lozenge? I got holes in my pocket. You need something, bro?
Yeah. It was so bad, man. All I heard was Dumbledore. It was just terrible.
Yeah, he was I was very happy that he was basically only a second act character, and then after that they're like, fuck it, goodbye you. We don't need your stupid voice anymore.
Yeah, it took away any kind of threatening element to it at all. He just like a character like that should impose some, even in a film like this, which, let's face it, is primarily a comedy more than it is anything else. I guess it's an action comedy. A character like that still needs to impose some kind of real threat and be, to a certain extent, scary. You know, like Hans Gruber or something. You need to see them as a real villain, but he was just so bad.
Yeah, I never saw him as a threat. It was always Gal Gadot. I was like, all right, when's Gal Gadot going to cross this guy? And then when she does, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank God. I want to be rid of this guy. But then they just kept having him come back for like little spurts, and I'm like, why is this guy still on my screen? Get him off.
That was my thing too. When she drugs him and he's out for like maybe a minute or two, I for starters, I didn't buy that. Like, why didn't she just poison him and kill him? Like,
right? Like that would make her so much more threatening too. Like, it's not like I don't find her threatening as it is. Like the showdown in the gallery, she just showed me like how capable she is already.
Yeah.
But, you know, showing that bloodlust, I guess, would help. But I'm guessing they're also trying to keep her, quote unquote, pure for the next movie where you're going to have to root for her.
Yeah.
I guess.
Probably. And that makes sense. With the twist at the end, you don't want her to be too much of a villain, I guess. Yeah. Because, I mean, and that's the thing at the end of the day. All three of these characters are, quote unquote, bad guys. You know, like Ryan Reynolds, I guess, for the majority of the film is seen as our hero, even though The Rock, we think, is the FBI agent. So, I mean, and that's an interesting move the film does, I guess.
It compares that way to Ocean's 11. Now, of course, Ocean's 11, infinitely superior.
Yes.
But, like, it doesn't... It has all of your people technically being bad guys, but you're supposed to like them in some way. And Ryan Reynolds, yeah. I sort of like him. Gal Gadot... I didn't get enough of her being like a real good character, like to be like, okay, I really like this person. The Rock, I'm just like, oh my God, bland. And then when the reveal happens, I'm like, okay, they're actually letting The Rock have fun. I could get behind this Rock character if they just let him have fun.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we do get a Red Notice 2, I'd like to see them go further with that because I think he could be fun as opposed to, you know,
Yeah.
wet rag that he was the entire movie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So continuing on the Ocean's 11 analogy, which, yeah, that's a good pull. I agree. In a lot of ways, it's kind of similar. From Ocean's 11, we went to 12 and then 13. Let's say that Red Notice 2 goes down the same path. Who are we adding to this cast, you reckon? You've got The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. Who becomes the fourth?
That's the thing, because, like, it's two of the most popular actors we have going.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot is on the upswing, so like that's the big reason she signed on to this was because like her star is still rising. So do you get another rising star? Do you get like is it a woman you get? Do you introduce, I know the Rock is like half Samoan, half black.
Yeah.
But like do you get another person of color in for the movie? Like that's the thing. It's like there's plenty of directions they can go.
Yeah. I mean, do they just swing for the fences and try to get fucking Pitt or Leo or something?
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting
but
to get
that
like
would make
a classic.
Yeah, but that would make it so much weirder.
It would be.
Because then it would be tonally all over the place as opposed to... I mean, I already felt like this movie was kind of tonally all over the place, but that would take it out into a direction that I don't know if anybody writing the movie or Rawson Thurber or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know if he's capable of dealing with that. Like, I think I saw in his filmography, he directed Talladega Nights, The Battle of Ricky Bobby, which I love. But like, you look at this guy's, pedigree and you're like, okay, I guess I kind of see it, but like, there's nothing there that says this guy can do serious action.
Yeah.
So like, he has to stick to this lane. So I don't know who fits with that. Like, is Nick Cage just too over the top for whatever they're going to do next? Or like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Nick Cage, like, the one where you want to put in?
Yeah, do you go like Cage or Willis or someone? Like Willis, I reckon.
Oh, not Willis.
Yeah, but I reckon he could work in the way that he's wooden, like The Rock. he's got that kind of classic action going, but he's not very good. Like, I think he's at the pedigree that would work with the film.
Right. I don't know. It's weird. Like Cage, Willis. No, I still hate Willis. Like, would Vin Diesel? Like, if Vin Diesel showed up, that'd be hilarious.
Because him and The Rock are still feuding, aren't they?
Vin recently put out an Instagram post being like, "Hey, it's time to come back to the table for like," because I think they're prepping for Fast 10.
Right.
So Fast 10, your seatbelts, everybody. But like, so they're doing that. I guess they're trying to break bread. So like, we'll see what happens. Maybe, I don't know. Natalie Emmanuel, somebody who I look at because she was just in Army of Thieves. I actually sort of liked her in that. Maybe she'd fit in this movie.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But figuring out who would be in Red Notice 2 if it's not just these three, I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, because sequels, they always have to go bigger and better. So I don't know how. I don't know what they would do.
Actually, if you're Netflix, I don't see why you couldn't just put like, the main character of Lupin in here, Hassan Diop. If you're setting up a franchise, there's an easy way to get in your French audience and your international audience is to say, hey, Hassan Diop is now in this movie. And America, you may not know him that well, but everywhere else knows him because Lupin is one of the most watched series ever.
Yeah, that's actually a good call. And I guess that's one of the interesting things about Netflix is that they are universal. As opposed to, most franchise films, like even Fast and Furious to an extent, like, yes, it has an international audience, but let's face it, it's pretty clear who they're targeting. Whereas Netflix, that would be an interesting call, fuck it, get someone from Squid Game in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the cop from Squid Game. That's something I want to see Netflix start doing is leveraging their properties within each other, because I think that's something that they're missing from doing is like, hey, if you like Squid Game and you like this particular character in Squid Game, here's something else they're in that you can also check out that's also on our streaming service. Like, we want you to watch all this stuff. Like, they recently did with the director of Squid Game, like he directed a couple films, and they were like, here's one of them that's on Netflix right now. It also stars the guy who plays Gi-hoon, who's our main character in Squid Game.
Yep.
Check that out. Like, I don't remember them ever promoting The Untouchables, but like after, Lupin Part 1 came out and it was a smash success, they never talked about The Untouchables, which stars Hassan Diop. They need to be better about leveraging their stars. Like, maybe Omar Sy isn't made by you, but you he is well known because of you. Because outside of Bishop in X-Men: Days of Future Past, what is an American audience seen him in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just Lupin.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's an interesting pool. So, all in all, how are you scoring Red Notice?
I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. It's serviceable. You're not gonna hate yourself for watching it. It's mercifully under 2 hours.
Yes.
That was probably the number one thing I saw when I saw this movie was its runtime being under 2 hours. Because normally when you have action movies now, they're like 210, 215. You're like, oh my God, please just end my life already.
Yeah.
And this, coming in at under 2 hours. Yeah, you wish 90 minutes, but you can only get so much, so I'll take the 2 hours. I stand by everything I said. Ryan Reynolds, I think, is adequate. The Rock is very bad. The plot is very bad. The CGI is very bad. Gal Gadot's having fun. But, it was a fun enough time that, you're going to watch it for 2 hours and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What else is on?
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. I had enough fun with the cast that even though the plot is kind of bullshit and just ignore it, I'm a 6 out of 10. I had plenty of fun. Our mutual friend Paul from The Countdown, he was asking people, whether he should watch it because he's currently looking for his worst 10 of the year. And I said, look,
it doesn't fall in that.
No, I said this is not a film that's worth watching if you're just looking for something to be bad, because it's not that bad. Like, the worst thing about this film is that it's just kind of middling. Like, it's just completely average. I won't ever watch it again, but I don't regret having watched it. Like you said, the runtime completely sells it for me as something that's just worth throwing on if you're looking to, I don't know, perf on Reynolds and Gadot for a couple of hours.
Right.
Totally fine.
Right. That's the thing, too, is, like, it's middling. Like, I'm actually shocked that we got 40-plus minutes out of this talking about such a middling movie, because I normally struggle talking about middling movies for anything more than, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah, same. That was my biggest fear as well. I've said that before on the show, that it is so easy to talk about movies that are brilliant and so easy to talk about movies that are terrible. But something that's like a 5 out of 10 is the worst thing in the world. And we've done episodes before that are like 18 minutes long, and you're like, wow, I feel bad putting this out, but I have nothing else to say. So I'm amazed that we managed to talk about it as long as we did.
I know. I feel like we broke it down more than anybody thinking about the movie did when they were writing it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Can you tell everybody about Netflix and Swill and where they can find it?
Yeah, sure. It's a podcast where me and my friend Caleb talk about the goings on Netflix. Recently, we've been talking a lot about Chappelle, which has driven me to the point of insanity. And I'm so glad that we've had a quick reprieve until everything fires back up after the next Chappelle special. But you can find our show at Netflix and Swill everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Most active on Twitter, though. So if you want to follow what we're doing, or like what we're potentially covering for that week, that's the place to be. You can also find our show at netflixandswill.com, and any podcast app that, exists is a good place to find us. Yeah,
I'd highly recommend it. It's a great show. I listen just about every week, even though as I said, I don't watch a lot of Netflix content. It's always really good discussions, and you guys talk about such a broad range of things as well, which is just really nice. So yeah, definitely check it out. I'll put links in the show notes and everything, but thanks so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me, Billy. It's been a blast.
No worries, man. Next week, I will finally be getting to its opening here in the land of Oz, last night in Soho, which I'm really, really keen to get to. I'll be checking that out with my first UK guest. I've got Paul from Filmbusters coming on, so that's going to be pretty sweet. And over the next couple of weeks as well, our good friends at Dendy Cinema are running a retrospective of Denis Villeneuve films. So I'll be getting to quite a few of those, including Blade Runner 2049, which I've never seen. So I'll be putting out a bonus episode on that soon. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week.